Hey sis, hey, this is your girl Kristen Ogundere checking back in for another episode of Her Steps Are Ordered podcast. Welcome sis, welcome. I just want to take the time out to thank you so much for tuning in today. If this is your first time tuning in, I am the host Kristen Ogundere sis, where we talk about all things faith, womanhood, and beyond. I just want to take out the time to say welcome. I feel like I'm all over the place this morning, but I'm actually recording this the day of me posting, so bear with me, sis. You may hear some background noise. You may hear a little bit of everything going on because life be lifing. This is life, but I still had to get this out to you all today. So today's topic and the thing I want to ask you for this particular episode is, sis, are you limiting yourself? Take the limit off of God concerning your life. I just want to encourage you on today because so many women don't tap into their fullest potential because they're limiting their mind. So you're limiting God. You're limiting the possibilities of what God can do in your life, who God can be in your life, and your situation turning around. So I'm here to encourage you on today to let you know that you need to take the limit off of God, sis. It's time. It's time to take the limit off of God. I mean that wholeheartedly because I've seen what God can do in my life when I begin to take the limit off and just trust Him fully in my life. I've seen Him turn my situation around concerning my life circumstance because I decided to take the limit off. What does taking the limit off of God mean? Taking the limit off of God means that it's important for you to understand that if you see me looking over, I'm looking at my notes, that God has unlimited power. So therefore, concerning your life, He can turn any situation around that He chooses to do so at any moment, at any given time, at His appointed time, I must mention, because a lot of times we put limitations on ourselves and our minds because we're focusing on the actual goal in front of us or what's ahead, yes, which is important, but we put a limit on it because we're looking at the time frame that we think that it should be done. Who am I talking to on today? I pray that this is encouraging you. As I'm looking over at my notes, it said we suggest that God is not limited by our limitations. He is capable of doing far more than we can ask or even imagine, as the word of God says. He is capable of way more. And a lot of times we may think we have an inkling of potential for ourselves, and we think that we're being limitless and such. But when God decides to bless you in a certain circumstance or situation, it normally ends up being way far more than you had ever thought of. Why is that? It's because we serve a God that is limitless. We serve a God that is like, no, no, daughter, you're not thinking big enough concerning your life. You're not thinking big enough concerning your situation. You're not thinking bigger. You're not seeing the full bigger picture because you're looking at your current circumstance and you're limiting your mind. You're limiting your belief. You're limiting what the potential is that God has for you concerning you, even personally. So I'm here to let you know that if you're not doing so, take the limit off. Take the limit off of your mind. Take the limit off of God concerning your life. But how do you get to that point? How do you get to that point? It's by having a broader perspective of God's capabilities, moving beyond our own limited understanding and expectations, because we all have an expectation of what we think should be or how we think things should go in our life concerning our dreams, concerning our potential, concerning the different things and areas of our life. But we must understand that God has a different expectation concerning us. His expectation is far more greater than we can even think or imagine of ourselves. That right there is everything. Mm, 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 mm. So I want to mention two biblical passages, which are Ephesians 3:20 and Matthew 17:20. These are often scriptures that we know full too well. It emphasizes God's ability to exceed abundantly above all that we can ask or think. The power of faith, even in the smallest amounts, are great. Mustard seed faith, I know we've all heard about that. Even if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, oh my goodness. Even the smallest amount of faith and belief can change your situation. You just have to go forth. You see, the reason why I had named this podcast Her Steps Are Ordered is because our steps are ordered by the Lord. As the word says, um, the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord. Our steps are ordered by God daily. So when you limit your mind to what God is trying to do concerning your life just because of you, what you see naturally, you are not walking in your fullest potential that God has for you. There is so much that God has in store for you in your life. If you would just let go of the limitations in your mind. Yes, we can speak about it, we can talk about it, but doing is a completely different thing. Actually beginning to walk out your potential, your fullest potential, it's not easy. It's not an easy thing. And that might be for another episode. But as you begin to trust God, seek his word daily for encouragement and direction, because sometimes the path has already been made for us and we're looking everywhere else but in the word of God for a direction. We're looking at man, we're looking at for signs, we're looking for everything. But the sign and the direction that you need to take is already noted in front of you. It's already in the word of God. It's in the word of God. Anything that you have questioned concerning your potential, your life, all of these things, God already has for you in his word. So if you're looking for a sign or direction, check his word, sis, because it can't steer you wrong. It can't steer you wrong. We limit God a lot by our own thoughts, our own words, and our own actions. Doubting God's ability to intervene in our lives. We're focusing on our negative circumstances rather than the promises of God. We're allowing past failures and disappointments to shape our view of God's power in our life, because just because we have dealt with something in the past, that shouldn't even dictate the future that God has for us. Yes, you may have been rejected in the past. Yes, you may have been told no in the past. Yes, you may have been disappointed in the past. Yes, you may have seen some things in your past or dealt with some things in your past that may have said no in every way, shape, or form. But we serve a God of no limitations when it comes to the potential that he has for you. So you must understand that our thoughts are not his thoughts and our ways are not his ways. So the thoughts that God has towards you concerning your potential don't even amount up to our negative thinking. We have to get out of negative thinking. You have to get out of doubting your belief system or your purpose or whatever it is that God has drawn or called you to. You must understand that if he's called you to a thing, then he's given you everything you need as far as the ability to follow through with that. With that. He's giving you everything that you need. And if you don't see the full picture, because we know how you understand, when you have a relationship with God, that's another thing. You understand how God works. You see, when God calls us to something, a purpose, higher calling, potential, whatever it is, it's always going to be bigger than us. So if you're looking at your current purpose, situation, circumstance, of course, you may feel as though it's bigger than you, but God wouldn't have placed you somewhere and brought you to something to not bring you through it. So you must understand not to limit God and the potential in which he's given you to serve in whatever aspect or area in life that he's called you to, according to his will and the purpose that he has for you. I just want you to know that one today, because I feel a lot of times when it comes to women, we compare, we look at what other people are doing, we look at our current circumstance, we look at especially the past and what we've dealt with and the doubts and the insecurity, the different things start to come because of what we've dealt with before, or because of something may be new to you. You go back to the familiar. That's how you put a limit on God. That's how you put a limit on your potential. That's how you put a limit on your mind. It's your environment in which you've come from. It's your environment and where you currently are, because you feel as though you may be stuck in a certain situation, but you're not stuck. Your mind is what's limiting your potential. Your mind is what's limiting your potential. For real. I had to get to a point where I was in like a repetitive cycle of, oh, I don't, I'm like, Lord, look, I'm looking at this, I'm looking at what you're asking me to do, and it seems like it's bigger, but I'm walking in this now. I'm walking in this thing now. I'm living this thing out now. I am just going as God leads. I'm not leaning into my own understanding. I'm not looking at my limitations. I'm not limiting God in my mind. I'm not limiting anything that God can do, because I've seen what he can do. And when you go back and you look over your life in which where you are right now, and you look at where you used to be, that right there is the power of God in your life. So that right there should be enough evidence of what God can do next. That should be enough evidence of what God can do next, sis. Trust your potential. Trust in the potential that God has given you. Trust in what he's telling you. Trust in what he's drawing you to, according to his purpose and his will concerning your life. It may look bigger than you right now, but don't limit God because your mind is limited. Do not limit God because of your mind is limited. Ask God to take the limit off of your mind. Ask God to take the limit off of your mind concerning his thoughts towards you, concerning his thoughts towards your future, concerning his thoughts towards your life, your potential, every aspect of such. Ask God to take the limit off. Because when you start here and the Lord takes the limit off of your mind, then you can allow yourself to trust God fully, so then you could walk into what he has for you. Take the limit off of God. How do you do that? Taking the limit off of God is actively choosing to believe in God's unlimited power and potential in your life. It requires a renewing of your mind. As I just said, ask God to help you with that. Ask God to renew your mind concerning your potential. Ooh, with the word of God. You can't leave that out. Ask God to renew your mind with the word of God and focus on his promises. When you begin to focus on the promises of God instead of looking at your current circumstance, that's when things begin to shift in your life. Letting go of your past potential, your past limitations, embrace your mindset of faith and expectation. That's one key thing that I want to remind you of. Embrace your mindset when it comes to your faith and expectation. Allow God to work in your life according to his power. Don't limit yourself with your doubts and your beliefs and your fears. Because when you do that, that's when your life feels as if it's at a standstill. When you limit and you doubt yourself, your potential, and the things that God has called you to, that's when you limit yourself. Not God. You limit yourself with your own thoughts, which is why renewing your mind daily in the word of God and renewing your mind as a whole will increase your potential. I love you, sis. I pray that you were encouraged with this episode today. I pray that it ignites something within you. And I pray that you continue to keep trusting God as he begins to take the limit off your mind by renewing your mind in the word of God and renewing your mind to a point of understanding your potential for God's will concerning your life. I love you, sis. Be blessed. Until next time, sis, I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.